If you're looking for one of Apex Legends' most fulfilling Legend experiences, wanting to excel at ranked Apex, or you just want a lot of versatility in your gameplay, you're in the right spot. Because today we're going to get you on your way to mastering the Surveillance Expert Crypto with a ton of tips and tricks, gameplay examples, ranking him in the meta, and lots more. Starting with Crypto's passive and Legend type, he is a member of the Recon class, meaning he can scan the survey beacons, and he also has Threat Vision, meaning enemies are highlighted in red. For his actual passive ability, this is Neurolink, which simply put, all this does is scan enemies, doors, and loop-ins up to 30 meters away when you are using Crypto's tactical drone. This cone of scan is around 270 degrees, meaning you can mostly scan everything to the side and in front of the drone, but just not directly behind the drone. There's an absurd amount of things to know for Crypto's tactical, but at Crypto's core, he is Apex Legends' most intricate recon legend with a massive amount of potential. I can't stress enough as to how important it is that you covet his tactical drone like it's your best buddy, and in turn, really an extension of your life. The drone staying up means Crypto can be useful. If that drone is destroyed, Crypto literally turns into just a normal dude on the battlefield with no abilities, as all three of his abilities, passive, tactical, and ultimate, are super dependent on the drone being available. In addition to this, he is one of the most active legends in the game, and he will require you to be very involved by doing what I call a lot of actions per minute, meaning you'll be constantly pulling the drone out to do various recon things, both in and out of fights, and you'll still have to be present in fights like any other legend would. With that, Crypto's Tactical is a 50 health surveillance drone that he can both operate remotely by just tapping the tactical, or he can enter the drone to operate it manually. This viable drone is what Crypto uses to scan enemies and other objects via his passive, which makes it a very strong recon and knowledge gathering tool. If you take damage while you are inside the drone, you will be forced out of it, which means where you operate the drone is critical, and every Crypto needs to be very aware of their surroundings so they do not get walked up on while you operate the drone. If Crypto's drone is destroyed, there is a 30-second cooldown timer till the drone can be brought back. And again, Crypto is a literal NPC without the drone. There's a few things that you can do to better keep the drone alive, but the first is the two ways that you can exit and recall the drone. If you are in a hurry, pushing enemies, or you're rotating, you can quickly exit the drone and recall the drone at the same time, allowing yourself to continue to move faster, but at the cost of the drone staying still. If you are in less of a hurry and you're trying to be sure the drone does not get destroyed, you can start to recall the drone without exiting it, allowing you to maneuver till the drone is fully recalled. These two things mostly depend on whether or not you are in a fight or if there are enemies around. For the most part, it is okay just to exit and recall the drone at the same time, as this increase in pace of play is generally more important. Quickness or speed is always critical for Crypto. You do not want to get so bogged down with the drone that you forget that you actually need to shoot your weapon. With this comes my big disclaimer to not be ignorant of what you are doing. You can't just leave your teammates to fight enemy squads in a 2-on-3. There are scenarios where you can't do recon for them while they start the fight, but 9 out of 10 times, you need to still be there with your gun, not playing your Game Boy. I briefly already hinted at it, but you can tap the tactical to remotely deploy the drone straight in front of you or any direction you are looking. This has a ton of uses, but you can also just hold your tactical ability to bypass the need to deploy the drone and then enter the drone. This is going to be much faster, and it is something that you absolutely need to be utilizing pretty much every time when you do want to get more recon in the drone. When you do tap the drone, it goes forward 25 meters, and often this type of remote play can be great to send the drone out around objects, above cover, or to scan and clear a building before you do enter it. By doing this, you have the potential to get quick scans on enemies with minimal to no downtime on your part other than just deploying the ability. This does make it fairly easy to get Crypto's drone shot and destroyed, but sometimes just a quick second or two of wall hacks is more than enough for you to get a smarter and more informed play. While we do want to do everything to keep the drone alive, don't forget that it is a tool, and just beyond getting the scans on enemies, the drone can be used to absorb 50 damage if you are in a close range one-on-one. Also, enemies more or less have to destroy the drone, and even if it just takes a fraction of a second, their attention is going to be turned away from you, and when some guns in Apex have a time to kill around a second, this is a pretty big deal. With this, let's briefly talk about how the drone can simply be used as a distraction tool. The audio and constant pop-up of getting scanned is honestly enough to be super frustrating for enemies. Not only do they get scanned, letting your team get that intel, they are also going to lose some audio as to what is going on around them, and the continual use of a drone to fly past enemies can be very tough to deal with. While most of the time you don't want to get hard stuck in the drone, being able to scan enemies while the team pushes up can help them push without getting beamed. I often find quickly flying across the ground can make the drone harder to hit rather than flying in the sky, but it's gonna depend on your surroundings. Remember to try and use buildings and other objects to make the drone harder to destroy, and sometimes a quick 15 to 30 seconds in the drone can really be great to figure out where each enemy team is, and this makes Crypto a very strong ranked pick due to his intel gathering capability. It's also worth mentioning that Crypto can fly in the drone in either the direction he is looking, or you can keep your path level by holding this button depending on your input. Then you can fly while you simply just look around, which is very useful. This can be great if you are flying very high in the air and you want to look straight down, almost like a UAV. As with everything in Apex, I highly recommend you communicate this to your team and also ask your team to be communicative back to you. While you are on the drone, you do lose some awareness as to your character's specific surroundings, and this means you should take extra care when you exit your tactical and you do start to move again. Let's start to discuss a lot of the really specific use cases for Crypto's tactical. The first is what I call the fourth member. Basically, you can set Crypto's drone up in any high building in a corner or other high outdoor locations, and this almost acts as a fourth player that you can use to watch your back. This will scan enemies as they walk by, or if they choose to, they will destroy the drone, and at least you are going to know someone is close. With this, a sneaky tip is that the drone will turn around if it does get sent into any wall. This is nice as you can quickly just tap the drone into a wall, and it's going to give you continual scans of the area rather than just staring at the wall. A very powerful tip is that the drone can scan enemies through glass. Any building with a glass wall, windows, this means you can set up the drone outside of the building and then continually scan enemies who are inside without them having really any easy way to destroy the drone. This is one of the strongest tactics any Crypto can utilize, and I find this to be in particularly strong on E District and Storm Point, as there's many buildings with large glass windows. If you didn't know though, Crypto's drone can interact with many objects on the battlefield. The drone can open doors, letting you get into buildings or tease enemy teams who are camped up. He can also open loot bins and care packages remotely, which can be nice to quickly scout an area's loot, but maybe not waste time running through the area, as the drone is much faster than any player running around trying to loot. Crypto's drone can also be used to scan the survey beacons instantly, making it much quicker to gather intel as to enemies' locations within that 500 meters around the beacon. One thing I love doing is setting my drone up at a survey beacon and then waiting till I am in a better position before I scan it, either before taking a fight, maybe I'm rotating out of the area. I can then quickly open my drone, scan that beacon instantly, and then continue to move on with better intel. This is also a good time to mention that Crypto's drone will not get destroyed by the ring, so you can scan any beacon that is on the edge of the ring or within the 200 meters the drone can travel. And speaking of the 200 meters, Crypto can operate the drone up to this distance, and then the drone starts to get glitched out as it's like losing connection. It's a little bit too far. The drone, however, will stay active till Crypto himself is 240 meters away, and then at this point, it automatically gets recalled. This makes Crypto a very powerful reset character, as Crypto can pick up teammates' banners with his drone and remotely respawn enemies at the respawn beacons. Using the respawn beacons are instant like the survey beacons, and I find that Crypto should be the one to carry a mobile respawn beacon since he does have this capability. One of my absolute favorite things to do with Crypto, and honestly something you need to be doing literally all the time, is just to tap the drone and send it out. By doing this, Crypto audibly announces how many teams are around you, which is massive to tell you if you can take a straight fight and not get third-partied, or if you should avoid a fight because maybe there are 2, 3, 4, or more enemy squads nearby. On top of this, Crypto can also look at the signs when the drone is active to tell how many teams are up, and this can also be pinged to let your teammates know if some time has passed since you did initially call that drone out. Once again, this range is the same as you can operate the drone, 200 meters, and it is from Crypto's origin, not the drone. Also, just tapping the tactical if I am in a fight that is taking too long, or if it's somewhat stalemated with neither team making a move, this can let Crypto identify if a new team has entered the area, letting him better predict and avoid third parties. If you aren't aware, you can actually move while you are using the drone as well. Crypto's momentum will continue onward when you enter his tactical, which means if you're sliding down hills or off of objects, you can actually open the drone and continue to rotate a little bit while you get some brief intel with that drone. This should generally be utilized as much as you possibly can to keep up your pace of play with your teammates. In a similar vein as this, you can also pop a battery or other healing items when you do first enter the drone. This can only be done on your first activation though, not if you are entering the drone again, but basically you hold your tactical, and then when the side swipe animation is around 50% on your screen, you can just pop a healing item and you'll start to use the healing item, and then you will go into the drone. Once again, letting you be a little bit more versatile. And since we are talking about actions that can happen when you are in the drone, your weapons will also reload when you are in the drone. So this can be pretty great to reload, get a heal up, gain intel, and be ready to go as soon as you come back out of the drone. Before we go over Crypto's ultimate ability, let's quickly discuss his legend upgrades, which are very powerful. Just note that upgrades do change frequently, but as of the posting of this video, his level 2 blue upgrades are network expansion, which gives him a 25% boost in both scan range and EMP range, or he has off the grid, which gives Crypto invisibility while you are in the drone. His level 3 upgrades are satellite imagery, which scans enemies for a short time after they do get hit by the ultimate, or you can get Hackathon, which doubles the drone recharge rate, and you get a speed boost if it does get destroyed. Honestly, all the upgrades are great, but I think the invisibility is too good to bypass right now. I don't promote it, but being able to hide at endgame or even use the drone with minimal to no issues of ever being detected is going to be super nice. I kind of expect them to add a cooldown on this eventually, maybe just a timer. And if anything does change to this upgrade, check out my pinned comment down below and I'll let you know if this upgrade or my selection choice has changed. As for his level 3 upgrades, I think the Hackathon pick is slightly better, as being able to have less downtime in the drone is a big deal, and being able to use the drone as a tool to get out of fights better when it does get destroyed is something that many do not expect to happen. We went over a lot of ways to use Crypto's tactical, but as we go to his ultimate, the biggest words of wisdom I can give is that using the drone gives you an insane amount of positional awareness, but at the same time, you can easily lose your specific awareness as to who is in your immediate surroundings. Do not get tunnel vision while you are in the drone, and don't overuse the drone to the point where you are neglecting your team. If you are enjoying this video, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. Also hop into my community Discord. If you have any questions or if you need to find others to play with, you can go in there, and drop a comment down below if you think Crypto should be the supreme ruler of the universe. Hopefully your brain is not fried yet, but luckily Crypto's ultimate, the drone EMP, is much less complicated than his tactical drone, but Crypto is unique in the fact that you cannot use his ultimate unless you do have the tactical deployed, reinforcing its importance. Crypto's ultimate is a 30-meter EMP bubble that does 50 shield damage to all enemies in range. It has a 180-second cooldown, and this EMP is incredibly strong against most defensive or control legend abilities in the game, as it will completely break them down. Things like Watson's fences and our generator, Caustic's gas traps. It'll even break the energized portion of ramparts and walls, and even Gibraltar's dome shield. Basically anything that is going to defend an enemy squad or be placed on the ground, it's probably going to break it. This brings us to the first and most important way to use the EMP, and it is the aggressive EMP push. If an enemy is camped up inside of a building and fortified with a Watson fence, this makes Crypto a very great option to completely send enemies scattering by EMPing their area, destroying everything they've built, and damaging every player that is in this area. Coordination is absolutely critical, and your teammates should be pushing in as the EMP goes off. Crypto's teammates will not take any damage, but they are still going to get stunned, and it is worth mentioning that enemies are also going to get briefly stunned or slowed down. There's a few ways you can use the EMP and have it so the drone does not get destroyed. The easiest is to activate the EMP while you are flying around, but you can also place the drone on top of buildings enemies are in, and then activate the EMP as you get ready to push in. Likewise, I find putting Crypto's drone in trees works really well. Enemies cannot really see the drone, and you will be able to keep the drone up while you EMP or push up. You can also sometimes scan enemies while the drone is up in trees. While controlling and getting the drone into the perfect spot for an EMP is great, sometimes you are not going to have time to do this, and you can remotely send out the drone, run back a few meters, and then activate it. This way it can be a little faster, but not necessarily as good when it comes to overall EMP accuracy. And in turn with this, sometimes you can take big damage, and if enemies are pushing you, if you don't have any shields, doing what I call a self EMP can be great to stop enemies' advancements and give you a moment to pop a battery. This can be done when you get your shields cracked, or even if you have shields and you are desperate to do some big damage quickly, or if you do need to break some abilities like a Horizon Black Hole or a Gibraltar Dome Shield that might get dropped on or near you. Keep in mind that self EMPing, you're gonna lose 50 shields, but theoretically, all 3 enemies will lose 50 shields and your teammates won't lose any, giving you a pretty big net advantage. The ultimate is one of the most powerful abilities in the game, and honestly, it's a little bit slept on compared to a lot of other legends. Because the cooldown is a pretty lengthy one, Having one or two ultimate accelerants in your bag honestly is pretty clutch, and Crypto, more so than the other legends, needs to try and always have at least one of these. The gold helmet also is incredibly useful, as getting the drone back faster and your ultimate back a little faster is super helpful, since once again, both of these timers are pretty long. Since Crypto's EMP has an extreme emphasis on timing and coordination, there's a few legend and weapon combos Crypto should really try to use. For one, Octane is a mega sleeper pick, as you can EMP and launchpad into enemy squads, massively speeding up your play. Other legends like Horizon and her lift are helpful, or having a Pathfinder to zip in can be good as the EMP is going off, and really any legend who can help out by making plays is going to be key. Since Crypto often is pulling up the rear, not only EMPing, but also in general, just since he does have a lot to do with the drone, the weapons you use are very important, more so than a lot of the other legends in Apex. I usually don't like to recommend weapons based on the specific legend, because any legend can kind of be played in any way, but you'll strongly want to consider mid to long range weapons on Crypto, so he can still be prevalent in fights even from afar if you are being a little bit slower. I like to run something like a Hemlock, Triple Take, maybe even a Nemesis, as all of these have greater range than someone running and gunning with a flatline. And backing up this, you're still going to want a close range, high DPS gun like a Havoc, a Volt, or even a Mastiff. If you are wondering where Crypto is in the meta of Apex Legends, it's a little bit tricky. For pubs, he's a middle of the pack to a lower picked or rated legend for me, somewhere around a bottom 10 legend. It's not that he isn't strong or good, it's just that he is not needed for pubs. For ranked though, he is absolutely a top 10 legend for me, as he is one of the best all-around intel gathering and aggressive playmaking legends. Not to mention, he's a hard counter to a ton of the more used control legends that show up much more in ranked Apex Legends. Be sure to drop a like on this video if it helped you out, and check out this video if you need over 100 tips to instantly improve your skills. But till next time, happy gaming, legends.